Hello viewers, over the last couple of weeks I haven't had the chance to play Gran Turismo 7 too much because I have been in the process of moving flat, and therefore this was my first session in quite a while. Nürburgring Grand Prix circuit in Group 3 cars. It was last week's Daily Race B. We're going to attempt here to pull back some of the skill that I once had on this game, as once you're away for a couple of weeks your skill level does tend to diminish to some extent. So we find ourselves here in 14th out of 16, make that 13th, make that 12th, as we have a couple of cars facing the wrong way, taking the sub-optimal line through the Mercedes-Benz arena. Yellow flag, got another car going very slowly here. So that is 3 positions. So everything going to plan so far, you'd probably say. However, these first 2 races that I'm going to show you kind of characterise the doldrums that I was in on my return to the game. It's coming through here, having an enormous moment through the Schumacher S, which put me pretty much on the back foot here going into this chicane as we go a bit of side-by-side contact, a bit of door banging as we go through turn number 10. I think it's called Bilstein Corner, in fact, at this turn. We're just about keeping 11th position, but as you can probably tell, this isn't going to be the easiest race of all time, especially, I mean, look at this, guys. The almighty gaggle has returned. I mean, how many cars in that group there? About 7 or 8 in one big swarm around the final corner. I'm going to do my best to try to infiltrate this group and gain some positions. We've only gained the 3 so far from the couple of spinners at the beginning of lap number 1. Going to the outside line here to try to engineer a switcheroo. Didn't quite work out. The space didn't really open up in the way I would have liked. We're just going to go into the back of the Nissan GTR there. The Spanish player goes around the outside, and familiar scenes there of the Spaniards destroying the British, or the English at least, as we lose a position temporarily, although now the Spaniard does get a poor exit, and we're going to go back to 11th temporarily. Oh my goodness, Mercedes right behind me, almost on the grass. And this race is one of those where you kind of get caught up in a massive group and you can't really find your way through. It really depends on the nature of the group that you're in. Sometimes you can just fly through the pack and it's quite easy, but I'm not having it all my way this time. Through the chicane, as you can see, almost getting caught out in a bad moment there. Definitely could have been overtaken if the car behind was a little bit closer. As we head into turn 1, lap number 3. Again, cars in front fighting a lot and just trying to pick a way through, but not really able to do it. As with a couple of weeks off, you just lose your race sharpness. I mean, my pace isn't quite there. Also, just decision making isn't quite there. So a couple of things just need to improve. It does come back to you as you play the game a little bit more. Mercedes there with a slow exit out of turn 4. So we're going to get the run side by side here with the Genesis. Can we go around the outside at turn 5? It's not the easiest place to do it. We would have had the inside for 6, but it doesn't quite work out. Contact between the 2 cars in front. Well, we find ourselves now in 10th. Not the progress I would have liked so far, as we've only really made one proper actual overtake, which wasn't on a car which was recovering from a spin. Now we have a Mercedes up the inside. This is not going to end well in the Schumacher S. I have to give him a bit of space. And we end up getting shoved wide, unceremoniously, into the gravel. It was not pretty at all. And so this first race back, very much a disaster. Haven't really met barrier, but we have met the gravel, which is almost as bad. Into the chicane then. Lap number 3, we're more than halfway into this race. These 2 in front, I mean, take a look at this. Pure filth between the Italian and the Hungarian. As, well, oh my goodness, it looks like the Italian was almost trying to turn into the pit lane. I'm sure they're just trying to turn into each other. There's a bit of a war zone back here. And the stewards are going to have their work cut out today. Dish out the appropriate penalties for all this abysmal driving. As we head into turn 1, a bit of contact. We were briefly 3 abreast there. And the Italian there in front, he gets sent into the shadow realm. So he gets vaporized into a different dimension as we return to 11th. I mean, trying to find a way back past this, the Hungarian driver who bundled us wide into the gravel. Can we get this job done? Going a little bit wide here out of turn number 4 as we progress to the Schumacher S lap number 4. And I know I've got the better of this guy because he just turns left on the exit of the corner for no real reason, under no real pressure, just does it. But there we go, eventually finishing in quite a dismal 10th place. Fair to say that was a complete disaster. Let's try a different car. The GTR Nismo is going quite well, so let's give this a try. Yeah, so picking a slightly different car here, the Nissan GTR. Interestingly for this race, the car selection was actually quite wide, lots of people choosing different cars. Down at the bottom hairpin, bundling this guy a little bit wide, not the prettiest move you've ever seen. As we come through Schumacher S, this seems to be a bit of a hot point for this video. Lots of things seem to be happening here. I'm going to get a penalty. Guilty there of following wide the car in front. And doesn't stop me going to the inside though, into the final chicane here. So we can still go for some positions despite the penalty, which we're going to serve on the final lap. Sorry, on the next lap. What am I talking about? So through the final turn, I guess the guy behind didn't see too kindly to that. As we're going to once again get bundled into the gravel. It seemed to be a common occurrence. 16th out of 16. This session was very much cursed. And yeah, it was just a super frustrating day as I was just trying to get back into the swing of things, trying to get back into the flow of playing Gran Turismo 7 once again. And to be honest, the main mistake I was making was nothing I was doing here. The main mistake was not qualifying and putting yourself in front of and away from all of this manner of depravity at the back of the pack here. The car going very wide on the left as we're going to bundle that guy out of the way. I'm sure he's not too happy about that, as it's kind of just elbows out every man for himself at this point. And find ourselves now in 14th. Going to serve this penalty in just a moment's time, but clearly the guy behind didn't take too kindly to the contact earlier in the lap. Understandable, I suppose. So we demoted to 15th. I mean, these numbers are getting far too high now. 15th out of 16. It's not good at all. Although, make that 14th as we overtake that car, serving a penalty. Now, we did catch up with this guy once again, just running two wheels into the gravel. So I seem to be meeting the gravel quite a lot, and it's just these fine margins which aren't quite being met properly. And it's just that last couple of percent that I just need to get here. So I think my pace is not too bad. Actually, well, that guy's pace isn't too good. Gaining a position from that guy just seems to be facing the wall for no reason. And yeah, this is about the high point of this race. Fighting here for 12th place on lap 5. I'm surprised this guy didn't really defend the inside. So we're going to throw it up there and take 12th. And that's about as good as it would get. Apart from, well, the next race. So 12th, the finish, not great. And as you can see by my expression, more had to come. As we take a look at my ratings, not the best. I was really trying to improve my ratings. This is just what happens when, especially your sportsmanship rating is a bit low. You get put in the lower level lobby, and unsurprisingly, it is chaotic. It is carnage filled, and it's not the prettiest experience to be part of. And so, as I mentioned just a moment ago, I think it's best to try to set a qualifying lap. Now, the best laps in the world were into the 53s. My current record, 55.006. And so a 54 would be nice. We're trying to beat our ghost here, which is the 006. Carrying the speed here through the first sector of the Nürburgring. And it's a track I know well, having driven there this year and last. Done many laps around this in reality. But having done it in reality doesn't always give you that sharpness back on the game. Depends on the game you're playing, of course. But on Gran Turismo, just trying to get back to where I was. And it's just one of those experiences that I've had quite a few times. But I honestly need to just play this game a lot more regularly, because this is not something I need to be doing quite a lot. Anyway, down into the bottom hairpin. Late on the brakes. Let the car rotate off the brake. Back onto the power. Use the curb on the X on the left-hand side. 101.6 split on the second sector. That's not too bad. Schumacher S then. Bit of a moment there, but keeping it within the track limits and not going into the gravel. back over to the right hand side, looking for the AstroTurf on the right, just before the 100 board, on the brakes, back off the brakes, let the car roll through the turn, throw the car in, carry the speed through the right. See the Ghost comes back for a good line. Actually lost time to the Ghost there, but we are definitely up on the Ghost because the Ghost started 0.3 of a second in front. And so if I finish level with it, it's going to be a 54.7. Into the chicane, this is where you can really make or break your lap, right on the limits of the curb and therefore the track limits. Up into the final corner and throw the car in, off the brake, back on the power, maximise the track limits on the left hand side, and coming up to the line, it's going to be a decent lap, a 54.666, very ominous looking as we head into race number 3. And this turned out to be a really good race with got max power, character we've seen a multitude of times on this channel, and we're going to have a very good race here, hopefully. From the front, starting second, so it seems like our qualifying lap time there was of a decent level, and we would not have to fight through the hordes of cars towards the back of the pack, which certainly does help. When you're starting 14th, 15th, 16th in those kinds of positions, realistically in a 5-lap race you're going to struggle to get into the top 5 unless you get a bit of luck and you're just extremely good. But for the most part, I mean, you just saw the 2 races I did. I barely scraped into the top 10. Well, I didn't really. It just shows you how difficult it is. Now, this first lap here, as you can see, Max Power just seemed to have a 10th or 2 as he just begins to pull clear slightly. Go a little bit wide here into the gravel. Drinking game for the word gravel, as it seems to be my best friend throughout the entirety of this video. So carrying a good line, good speed through the Schumacher S, as Max Power just begins to pull clear there. Good traction on the Porsche. Not having to go defensive here against the Mercedes into the chicane, so not really wanting to defend, as we still have ambitions of trying to win this race rather than, you know, fighting for second. Max Power though, pulling out all the skill moves here, turning Gran Turismo 7 into Project Gotham Racing, getting the drift points. What that does do, though, is put me in a good position here to try to go for an overtake. As he tried to defend it, not really. And yeah, we're going to go up the inside, take the lead of the race, which is a position I've not seen in a while. And this is rather encouraging. Things are going in the right direction. I mean, I've made plenty of videos like this where you have a couple of very bad races where you're just trying to get the swing of things, you know, get back into the form that you've once had. Also learning the track and car combination before it eventually comes good a couple of races down the line. This appears to be one of those scenarios. But anyway, we find ourselves in first place, still with 3.5 laps to try to remain in this position, which is not going to be easy. It looked like Max Power was slightly quicker than me, let's say 2-3 tenths on that first lap before he decided to record a Gymkhana video on the final corner. And so I'm definitely going to have my work cut out here from this point to the end of the race. Even the guy in third in the Mercedes is very close. Good launch from the Porsche off of the hairpin, and the traction seemed to be a real strong point of that car, as it always is in the Porsche. A bit of a bump draft, I think, there from the Mercedes onto the Porsche, and that meant I have to go defensive on the left-hand side. As now we have a side-by-side duel here through Bilstein corner. I'm going to come through here. Really good battle this. Really, really close between the 3 of us at the front of the pack. Am I going to be able to keep the position here into the chicane? Max Power is slightly ahead, but I think I've just got a nose alongside. We are going to be late on the brakes. Get to the inside, get to the curb first, and put Max Power down into 3rd place. So I had to be aggressive there, keep the position. Otherwise, who knows what would have happened if I had backed out of that one. They're quite happy to still be in 1st place, but it's not going to be easy from here. Crossing the line, 3 laps remaining, as we judge whether or not we have to go defensive here into the first corner. I decide that it's not worth doing that. As you can see on the radar, 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 cars within earshot. Therefore, you know, any mistakes now could be disastrous, and I could end up in 6th position, coveted 6th position, which is a common occurrence, but not something I really want to happen right now. So coming out of turn 4. I mean, to be honest, this is the video. I pulled away. My audio kind of wanted to mess up at this point, but it was an easy win from there to the end, and I'm happy to have done it. Happy to have brought out a video for you guys. There'll be plenty more in the very near future. Thank you for watching. I'll see you next time. Goodbye.